Starting off this countdown, we have Alexi Miller's house. Alexi Miller is the chairman of Russia's largest company and world's biggest natural gas producer. If you try and look up his house on Google Maps, well, good luck. It is completely blurred out. In fact, we don't even have an image of it. And that's due to privacy reasons and safety concerns. I mean, this guy isn't everyone's biggest fan. Being that wealthy and big of a public figure, you don't know who's going to come for you. Now, I mentioned this before, but prisons are blurred out to prevent people or prisoners from breaking in or out of the facility. Google Earth literally shows you the entire layout of the place. So Miller probably has similar reasoning as to why he wants this place blurred. Someone could easily use Google Earth to figure out the best way to break into this dude's house. It would also show if he has cameras around his premise and where. So yeah, it's a little revealing.
Coming in at number 9 is the Arctic landing. So okay, bit of fake advertisement. This one isn't located in the Arctic, it's actually located in Antarctica. Not the same thing, you guys. Either way, Russian UFO enthusiast Valentin Degratev claims he found an alien crash site in Antarctica. There seems to be a saucer-shaped dent in the snow, like the flying saucer landed on its side and just went straight through the snow. I hope you got what I meant when I did that. I mean, I need to speculate and offer other explanations, like okay, is the ice breaking apart underneath there and that's what's causing the slit? But I feel like that's far-fetched, but then again, so is a flying saucer. But it is peculiar and it's surrounded by ridges and flat snow, so it's just a big unexplainable anomaly. I don't know, guys. Is it just a random slit? Is it an alien saucer? I don't really know. At number 8, we have the Martian Twins. Now, during the Kofun era in Japan, which was during 300 to 538 AD, they used to build Kofun tombs. And these tombs were for people of the ruling class, and they were shaped like keyholes most commonly and surrounded by water. That's all well and good, but alien hunters spotted a mound on Mars that looked identical to one specific Kofun era tomb. Now, they fully believe that the suspicious similarities between both features is evidence that Martians settled on Earth centuries ago after a catastrophic unknown event forced them to leave the red planet. They ended up building a similar structure on Earth and then going back to Mars when it was finally appropriate. But again, I feel like this whole theory is speculation. How do we know what this catastrophic unknown event was, and if it even happened? If aliens have the technology to travel to another planet and set up camp there, surely they could have evaded whichever terrible thing happened on Mars. Is that too much to ask? I don't think it is. I don't think my expectations are that high, you guys. Plausible. Filling on number 7 slot is the alien base. Now, back in April of this year, a few UFO hunters were searching Google Earth for some sus looking and boy did they find it. There's this really weird 500-meter long object off the coast of Antarctica that from the top looks like an iceberg but literally isn't. The left of it is oddly straight and the top has vertical ridges on it, making it not look like an iceberg at all. According to UFO Sightings Hotspot, it doesn't fit the description of an iceberg, and I quote, "I'm not an iceberg expert, but this object is really peculiar and looks like a vessel disguised as an iceberg." I have to fully agree with you, honestly. I feel like the aliens were probably like, hey, just cover the top in an ice sheet. These dumb humans won't notice the difference. But we did. We're on to you. Dumb humans. May have taken us a few years, but we got there. Now at number 6 is bad parking. I just found this one hilarious because alien life is meant to be so advanced and ahead of us, and I look at this image and I'm like, were you drunk driving? Like, this is shockingly bad. Now, the image was located by YouTube channel Secure Team 10, who found it crash landed in a restricted part of Arizona with a white blacked out car parked next to it. CIA perhaps? Probably. Now, the flying saucer looks really old-fashioned, if anything, like it's not slick or thin, and I'm pretty sure it landed upside down, which is what's really funny to me. Like, how do you mess up a landing that badly? Maybe the aliens decided to take one of the old ones for a ride and then didn't realize how outdated it was, and then boom, disaster, flipped it over. You're gonna be grounded when you get back to your planet. Coming in at number 5 is the Slit. In the very remote British territory of South Georgia, a really strange thing was found in the snow, and no, we're not talking about my ex, but wow, he keeps popping up in these videos. Now, alien hunting YouTube channel Secure Team 10 found a slit in the snow that they claim has all the signs that point to a UFO crash landing. It has the exact trajectory of an angular flying object that came to a screeching halt in the snow. Now, the imprint isn't a plane otherwise we would have known. It's not military craft, or we would have known, and the crash is too narrow and small to be anything other than an alien craft. But I mean, I don't really know. I think calling every weird slit in the snow an alien crash landing is a bit of a cop-out, but alien hunters clearly know better than I do, so I'ma just leave it to the experts. At number 4 is the flying saucer. Clearly you can tell I'm running out of title ideas, and I mean there's only so many different ways you can say spaceship, okay? Either way, YouTube channel Secure Team found an image on Google Earth that they believe is a flying saucer. Located in the South Pole, the circular object in question is sticking out of a mountain amongst the snow, but the rocky areas around it are quite rigid and randomly cut, whereas this object is oddly round, and like perfectly round at that. And I can't zoom in enough to tell if it's just a round cut of water that's randomly there or if it's actually alien aircraft. But since I've never seen alien aircraft, I don't even know. Even if I could zoom in, would I know? Who knows? Now there's like a thinner outline inside the actual outline of the round bit, which seems unnatural to me. Like there's no way that bit's natural. Has to be man-made or alien made. But I feel like zooming in more is necessary to get an actual conclusion, and alas, I can't do that. And I'm definitely not gonna go to Antarctica just to find out. But you can, and let me know if you do. Filling our number 3 slot is the floating island. Now located in Argentina, back in 2016, UFO sightings daily fully believed this floating island was the entrance to an alien base. On Google Maps, it looks like a random crescent was cut out of the greenery in the area. Like there's no other shape like that found nearby, or on the continent, or in the country for that matter. The island actually moves and rotates in a circle, and considering Argentina has had many UFO sightings over the years, it could be possible that aliens have their base underneath this island. Never say never. Now the Slit could easily fit a 100-meter UFO through it, and no one has actually gone and explored the water beneath the floating island. I think it's just really weird how there's like an oddly perfect circular island that magically got cut out by Mother Nature, and oh, it also rotates and moves. Like, nah honey, that's not Mother Nature, that is alien nature. Now at number 2 are the Skidmarks. Now, in June of this year, UFO theorist Scott Waring found what he believed to be an alien crash site in Antarctica, because apparently that's the go-to landing pad for most aliens on this list. It's located towards the north of the island, off the coast of another little island, if you know what that means, because I don't, since I'm not an Antarctica expert. Now on the image, he claims part of the UFO's wing is folded up and its concave area is severely dented. There are evident burn skid marks trailing behind the craft, and the craft itself looks to be made of some metallic material. The craft is apparently 96 meters long, while the trail it left behind it is nearly 450 meters long, so clearly it was a really rough landing. And finally, at number 1 is the debated. So even though this one has been debunked, I put it as number 1 because it was so widely believed to be an alien crash landing site for so long before, you know, it obviously wasn't. Now the satellite image shows a mountainous island off the coast of Antarctica. Now in the smooth snow, there's a block of something that's crashed into the snow, leaving a long deep trail behind it. I mean, and I get the allegation, it's narrow, and how often do things really crash into Antarctica unless it's a UFO? From this list, clearly, so I get why the thought was there. And the trail is quite long, but if you follow the trail back, you'll see the trail goes back to a mountain peak and a bunch of disturbed snow. And how many times did I just say trail in the last 30 seconds? Now people believe an avalanche occurred and debris was what the object was, or perhaps it was a trapped submarine, I don't really know. Either way, debunked, finally.
Coming in at number 10, we have the Loom Map. The Loom Map is a collection of Masonic symbols. It looks kind of Illuminati-esque. The rumor has it that the map is of Nazi origin. The story goes that the map points to geographical caches of gold buried in the United States of America. This is kind of where things get wild too. It seems that the Nazis smuggled the gold in order to sell it and then crash the United States economy, stopping them from entering the Second World War. Theories. Apparently, Franklin Roosevelt was onto them and then signed the Gold Reserve Act in 1934 to prohibit private possession of gold. Busted. Somehow smuggling gold back out of the country was harder than getting it in. The Loom Map was created to locate the gold, but the German spies sent to retrieve it got busted by the FBI. Busted. CIA codebreakers could not figure out the map. Many literally drove themselves insane trying to do so. The story is somewhat believable, as it is known that Nazi officers did hide treasures around the world.
In our 9th spot today, we have KFC. Now, this one is a little funny. So you know how Google Maps automatically censors out any person's face that they end up capturing? Well, they ended up censoring every single KFC. And that's because of Colonel Sanders' face. Google's system detected it as a real person, well, it is a real person, and it got blurred. So the Colonel's face is censored on all KFC buildings and signs. In our 8th spot, we have the Army Logistics Command Headquarters. Located in Taiwan, the Army Logistics Command Headquarters building is one of various military sites across Taiwan that has been blurred out on Google. And I'm sure you all can understand why. They do so for security reasons. Google often blurs out military bases or buildings if they are considered important to a country's security. Like I said, this is just one of the many military buildings blurred out by the Taiwan government and by Google. But in 2019, an update was done by Google and it resulted in a number of these bases being revealed to the public accidentally. The blurring was accidentally removed and people could see the buildings from all sorts of angles. People saw the military bases layout, building structures, and the locations of missile launchers. Good job, Google. But don't worry, now it's fixed. In our 7th spot, we have Tontaco National Park, Chile. Now, why would a national park be censored on Google? Literally no one knows. So this is a privately owned nature reserve. Now on Google Maps, you could see it from afar, but as soon as you zoom in closer, it doesn't do anything. It just looks like a green blob. So why would they censor this area? Well, some say it's because of the fact that it's home to several endangered animal species, whereas others believe that this place is home to animals that aren't supposed to exist. Imagine unicorns actually do exist and they're just in this area, or like the Bigfoot. Wild. In our 6th spot, we have the single square. In El Hito, Spain, there is this random square that was censored among the roads and plantations. Now, this site wasn't always censored. It became censored in 2007 when just a blur was added to the square. And many people were wondering why all of a sudden it was censored. Well, some say that's because a helicopter pad was placed there, so it was censored to hide that, whereas others think that there's a missile silo placed there. As of 2013, the censor, I believe, has been removed, and now all there is to see is an arid stretch of land. But what was going on there for 7 years when it was censored? That's my question. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Orspring Park. Located in the Netherlands, this is a mysterious building that, you guessed it, is censored. But what's weird is that this is the only property in a row of houses that is censored. Why is that house alone censored and not all of them? In older images from Google Earth, the building appears to be covered with a white box. Nowadays, if you search it, it's just a pixelated green and brown area. Again, no one knows why this area is blurred. When you check Google Street View, you can see that it's a brick building, but on Google Earth, you see nothing. Now, it could just be that the homeowner wants privacy. Who knows? In our 4th spot, we have North Korea. And of course, North Korea is on this list. I mean, hello, the whole country itself is one big secret. It's no shocker that sections of the country are blurred out. Now, the area that is blurred is along the country's western shore, so people have thought that they are hiding something there. Theory 1 is that that's where they do weapon tests, or that's where they have missiles or other weapons stored. Theory 2 is that that's where they are conducting a secret military project. Very vague, we don't know what the project is. Again, it's North Korea, so we really don't know what they're up to or why that particular area is blurred out. In our 3rd spot, we have Marseille nuclear site. Located in France, this site was first constructed in 1952. Now, we've done a number of these Google Earth videos, so at this point, you should realize that most nuclear facilities are blurred out. Mostly because these nuclear sites were caught doing illegal things with their nuclear waste, like dumping it into the ocean. Now, this one hasn't done that, but in 2011, it was the center of an explosion. One person was killed, 4 were injured, 1 was severely injured. So I mean, I think you can guess as to why an atomic energy site using uranium and plutonium oxides is censored by the French government, especially after that explosion in 2011. In our 2nd spot today, we have Sandy Island, aka the island that exists, but it doesn't exist. Now, this one comes with a little backstory. This island was discovered by Captain Cook, yes, Captain Cook, not Hook, during his explorations around Australia in the late 1700s. But now it seemingly disappeared. Back in the 19th century, Sandy Island was noted on a number of maps and nautical charts. It was said to be located in the South Pacific. It was located between Australia and New Caledonia. But it's no longer there. On Google Maps, if you enter the island's coordinates, all you see is a faint outline of what looks like a long, thin island, but there's no landmass in sight. And in our number one spot today, we have Maroa Island. Located in French Polynesia, this island was first used for nuclear testing in 1966 by France. These tests took place until 1996. That's when the French president shut down the facility. Turns out that Greenpeace found that these tests were polluting the waters as far as Peru and New Zealand. In fact, many locals in Tahiti have claimed that they have been affected by the radiation from these tests. Nowadays, the island is off limits to visitors and is guarded by French forces, which is probably why half of the island is blurred out on Google Maps. Or it's because they are still doing these nuclear tests. We may never know.
Starting us off with number 10 is the underwater base. Now, Argentine researcher Marcelo Igazusta found what he believes to be an underwater alien base. The object is 8.5 miles long and it seems to be a pyramid of some kind. It's located right off the coast of Mexico near the ancient Aztec and Mayan pyramids, which could be coincidental or totally random. Since this pyramid has an 8.5-mile base, that catapults it into being the biggest pyramid in the world. Forget Egypt, humans could have never built something like that, especially underwater, so Marcelo believes only aliens could have accomplished it. I mean, cut us some more slack, we're better than that. He believes either the base was there from before or an alien craft landed in the water and was built to do so and they just never left.
Coming into number 9, we have the Copper Scroll. The Copper Scroll is one of the Dead Sea Scrolls found in the 1950s, but written between 50 and 100 AD. The Copper Scroll has details in which swathes of valuable items can be found. Luckily for treasure hunters, description of where the treasure can be found has been given, but unluckily, as nearly 2,000 years have passed, the landscape has changed somewhat since then. Trying to find out where the treasure is using a 2,000-year-old map? Well, it'll send you insane. Here are some of the clues. In the ruin which is in the valley of Akor, under the steps leading east, 40 long cubits, a chest of silver and its vessels with a weight of 17 talents. You what, mate? Coming in at number 8, we have the map to the Dutch mine. I'll take you down to the old Dutch mine. I feel like we need a remix. Actually though, it's no laughing matter. Legend has it that a literal gold mine was found in the mid-1800s in the Arizona Suspicion Mountains. The only issue is, it's cursed. Now known as the Massacre Ground, the Peralta family was said to have initially found the treasure but were killed by the Apache people who then hid the treasure again, thought to be worth millions. Since then, a German immigrant, Jacob Walt, settled in Arizona during the gold rush years in the later part of the 1800s. Walt then spent his life investigating the mines, claiming that he found the treasure. He made several maps to the mine with X marking the spot. Now X was in the middle of a heart, but to this day nobody's ever found the treasure. In fact, many have died trying. This has led a lot of people to the suggestion that the mines or the maps could be cursed. Following the map could lead to your demise. Between 1955 and 1977, 7 people were found dead trying to find the treasure. More recently, Jesse Cappan was convinced that he could find it. He went out searching 3 times and never returned from his final trip in 2009. Coming into number 7, we have Friesland. Want a trip to Friesland? Sure you do. We all love a good adventure. But, sorry, where is it? No worries, I'll give you a map. Cool, see you never. It seems in 1558 a Venetian chap named Niccolo Zeno invented the island, just because he thought it was there. Why? Well, because he thought that his ancestors had discovered it 200 years prior. It seems that Zeno had actually got confused with a part of Greenland, and placed it as the site of a separate island the size of Iceland, which is pretty sizable. Scarily, Zeno generated a very popular map, and the Phantom Islands then appeared on other maps for the next 100 years. Some people even tried to find the island for themselves, but were sorely disappointed. Coming into number 6, we have the Fenn Treasure Map in the Rocky Mountains. What do you do when you're diagnosed with cancer? In 1988, author Forrest Fenn was convinced that he was gonna die, so he thought up an idea to bury a bronze chest filled with treasure. Now it contained gold, rare coins, gems and jewels, as well as his autobiography. However, he actually survived his illness, which is great for him, and then he decided to bury the treasure in 2010 and contained a poem with clues in his 2013 book. His book, Too Far Too Well, actually contained a pull-out map of the area the treasure is buried in the American Rocky Mountains. The thing is though, the map might lead you to your death. It seems that once again people have died searching for the hidden chest. Now most of them were men in their 50s. I don't know why, but in the pursuit of treasure, it's often the men that die. Interesting. Coming into number 5, we have the Ghost Map. This is one Jon Snow who certainly did not know nothing. A double negative, Rebecca? Yes. So the OG Jon Snow played an important role in the history of medicine. When cholera struck London between 1848 and 1853, disease was a big killer, but nobody yet knew how it was spread. Their best theory was through miasma, which means bad smells. In actuality, cholera comes from poor sanitation. It's a waterborne illness, so I guess they were kind of onto something, but it's bacteria, not smell. Good old Jon Snow, a doctor and anesthesiologist, was interested in learning more about the spread of the disease. He was curious as to why sewer workers and people who worked close to the river weren't actually showing a high likelihood of catching the disease because it smelled bad there, so they should be getting sick. He made a map of people who contracted cholera and he found a large concentration down one particular street. He found the people from the street got their water from one particular well, and he found this pump was close to a leaking cesspit which contaminated the water. His map was called the Ghost Map, and he discovered that cholera was a waterborne illness. He was the first person to do so. Jon Snow and his Ghost Map have become celebrated as one of the first studies of epidemics. I really love the game Pandemic, so this is pretty fascinating to me. Coming into number 4, we have the Monster Map. It is a map. It is a monster map. Let's look at the map. Here be monsters, apparently. Check out this map from 1539. Geographic meets the supernatural as monsters appear between islands and continents. It seems like adding monsters to maps was the done thing in the medieval and Renaissance times. The reason was that there was still a lot of mystery back then. People didn't really know what was out there, so the monsters suggested that these areas were unknown and possibly dangerous. They were warning signs. I have to say though, some of them look kind of cute and sweet. Sweet monsters. Coming into number 3, we have the world's oldest map. We have come a long way since the first ever map, and I have to say, even now that my Google Maps has the uncanny ability to get me lost. Imagine trying to navigate with this though. Hello, meet the world's oldest map. This map is thought to be from ancient Babylonia and dates back to the 6th century BCE, when the Babylonians thought that there were just 8 mystery regions beyond their own. It's carved into a stone. I mean, not only is this map way out of date, but like, what does it mean? Coming into number 2, we have this Uber map. Whenever I get an Uber, my driver always takes a murderous, vibey turn down a side road near my house. Apparently, this is because the Uber map system is somewhat flawed. But I'm actually just gonna go all out there and say it's actually pretty scary. Case and point here, it seems that in March 2018, an Uber driver took a very wrong turn when reading their map in San Francisco. They actually winded up driving down a flight of stairs. The driver ended up stuck on the stairs for hours. There are images courtesy of the KRON4 News Twitter, and oh my god, can you even imagine if this was your Uber and the driver's map reading got you, I don't know, driven downstairs? I'd be utterly terrified. Nobody was hurt, luckily, but how does this happen? You hear stories about people using their GPS and turning into rivers and drowning, like, are we not using our eyes and brains? Maps. Dangerous. Finally, coming into number 1, we have the map to El Dorado. Do you want to get lost and probably die of exhaustion and or dehydration? Then follow the road to El Dorado. El Dorado was noted by explorer Sir Walter Raleigh and is said to be a city of gold submerged somewhere near Lake Guatavita in Colombia. Raleigh claims to have discovered the city on his trip to Guyana and wrote in great detail about its treasures.